You know the feeling. You want to go to the gym, finish that project, write the book, clean your house, but you just don't. You know it's good for you. You want the results. But when the moment comes, your brain screams, not now. Later. Maybe tomorrow. But what if I told you your brain isn't lazy, it's just efficient? And that's exactly what makes changing habits so hard. This video is inspired by James Clear's best-selling book, Atomic Habits. And in it, we're going to explore how to stop forcing yourself to do hard things, and instead, train your brain to crave them. Let's begin. Here's the truth. Your brain is wired for immediate reward. It doesn't care about the six-pack next summer. It cares about the dopamine hit right now. That's why scrolling your phone feels easier than working out. Why binge-watching feels more natural than deep focus. In Atomic Habits, James Clear says, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. So if you want lasting change, you don't need more motivation. You need a better system. And it starts with something so small, so subtle, you might laugh when you hear it. Make it easy. No, seriously. The trick isn't doing more. It's removing friction. Want to read more? Put the book on your pillow. Want to eat healthier? Put fruit on the counter, not junk in the pantry. Want to work out? Lay your clothes out the night before. When something is easier, your brain stops fighting. Because now it's not a battle, it's just obvious. But let's go deeper. Because making it easy isn't just about environment. It's about identity. James Clear writes, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Think about that. You're not just skipping dessert. You're casting a vote for being a healthy person. You're not just journaling once. You're proving to yourself, I'm the kind of person who reflects and grows. Small actions, big proof. That's how identities form. So instead of saying, I want to write a book, say, I'm a writer. Instead of, I want to get fit, say, I'm the kind of person who doesn't miss workouts. Your brain craves consistency with its self-image. So build the image first, then the actions will follow. And here's where it gets really powerful. Your brain may resist hard things, but it loves satisfying things. So here's the hack. Make hard things satisfying. Track your progress. Cross off a habit on a calendar. Use a habit tracking app. Celebrate every win, no matter how small. Because each time you do, you get that dopamine hit, not from distraction, but from achievement. And now, your brain starts saying, hey, this feels good. Let's do it again. You're not just tricking your brain, you're rewiring it. From seeking comfort to seeking growth. From short-term ease to long-term reward. Relatively good things to say. You know, I would like to go on a walk with my kids. Or I would like to start working out again. And I genuinely mean well when I say that. But I never seem to make it happen. And the key insight that I had when I was writing Atomic Habits was that it was not enough to be motivated. I had to design an environment where doing the right thing was as easy as possible. And this is what I mean by priming the environment for success. Take a very simple example. Like I used to floss my teeth every night, but I would never remember to do it. I would brush my teeth and then I would go to bed, and I wouldn't floss. And eventually I got tired of having that habit not stick. And so I took the floss and I put it right next to my toothbrush. And now I brush my teeth, and then I put the toothbrush down, and I pick the floss up, and I floss my teeth. And that simple change of placing the floss in an environment where I was already going to take a related action was enough to make the habit stick. And we can apply this to all kinds of things in life. If you want to take your vitamins, put them right next to your coffee maker so you see them in the morning. If you want to remember to call your mom more, write it on a post-it note and put it on the fridge so that when you're getting dinner at night, you're reminded to reach out to her. Whatever the habit is, you can prime the environment for success by shaping it so that it favors the good behavior and makes it the path of least resistance. This is one of the big lessons that I talk about in Atomic Habits, is to design your environment in a way that reduces friction for good habits and increases friction for bad ones. Make the good habits easy. Make the bad habits hard. You want to reduce the number of steps between you and the good behavior, so you can also do the opposite. 4 bad behaviors. Like if you feel like you're watching too much television, just unplug the TV after each use, and then you have to plug it back in. And maybe that little bit of friction is enough to get you to pause and ask yourself, do I really want to watch something? Or am I just doing this mindlessly? We don't need to be the victims of our environment. We can be the architects of it. And that realization, that design is a lever that helps you fall in love with the hard things, helps you make the hard things easy. That was really what changed things for me. I realized that I didn't need to be more motivated. I needed to make it easier to do the thing I wanted to do. And one way to do that was to design the environment, to prime myself for success. And that made a big difference. This is one of the first and most powerful lessons of behavior change. It's not about being more disciplined or being more motivated. It is about designing the path so that the next action is the most obvious and most frictionless one that you can take. So that was a big one for me. And it's one that I think anybody can apply and really start to see results quickly. Own the lives we have to be ruthless about the things that we focus on. We actually have some good data on this. There was a study of a parole board. Judges, there were about 1,000 of them, 1,000 cases that they looked at in this particular research study. And the parole board judges would have criminals come in and they would decide whether or not they would grant parole. And what the researchers found was that the time of day was one of the most important predictors of whether someone would be granted parole or not. And specifically what they found is that at the very beginning of the day, when judges had a fresh mind and fresh energy, they granted parole like 65% of the time. And then if you fast forward like 2 or 3 hours, they would grant parole like 5% of the time. And then they would take a lunch break, and they'd come back from lunch and it would go back up to 65%. And then it would fall down to 5 again. And the same pattern played out day in and day out. And the idea here is that you only have so much willpower. You only have so much energy and attention and focus during a given day. And if you spend your attention and energy on things that don't matter, then it's going to be gone by the time you need it. And so this is why you need to be ruthless about saying no to things, ruthless about filtering your inputs so that you can pay attention to the things that do matter. And this brings us to the third law, which is the law of making it easy. And there's a lot of examples of this. We can go into the research about it, but I think the most important thing to understand about making it easy is that human behavior follows the law of least effort. We are always going to gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. And it's not always the best strategy, but it's a pretty good heuristic, because the less friction there is, the more likely a behavior is to occur. So the central idea of this law is reduce friction, make it easy, make it the path of least resistance. And this is one of the most powerful ideas when it comes to building better habits, because your habits are designed by your environment. People think that they make choices based on their willpower or based on motivation, but actually we're often choosing between options that the environment presents to us. If you walk into a kitchen and there's a plate of cookies on the counter, you don't have to think very hard about what you're going to eat. If you walk into the same kitchen and there's a bowl of apples instead, you probably eat the apple, and it doesn't require that much motivation to do that. This is the reason why one of the most common pieces of advice I give to people is to put your phone in another room. For example, let's say you're watching television and you want to be on your phone less. If you put your phone right next to you on the couch, then you're going to check it every 3 seconds. But if you leave it in another room, maybe you still check it every hour, but you're not going to check it 100 times. And the key idea here is that we often think that habits are about the object of the habit. Like I want to build a meditation habit. I want to build a writing habit, but they're really about the context. Habits are very context dependent. And so this is the reason why environment design is so important. We are more influenced by the spaces that we live and work in than we are by our own internal motivation. So if you can change the environment, you can change the habit. The key idea is to design for defaults, to prime the environment so that the good behavior is easy and the bad behavior is hard, because every action has a cost. There's a response effort that is required for every behavior. And if you increase the cost of the undesirable behavior and you decrease the cost of the desirable one, then you're more likely to slide into that good habit effortlessly. And it's all about shifting that balance to favor the behavior you want. And the reason is because it's so easy for us to rationalize spending time on things that are good uses of time, but not great uses of time. It's items that 6 through 25 on your list that take up time and space and energy because we can justify why we need to do them. They're on the list for a reason. They're just not as essential as the top 5, and so we end up spending all this time on these urgent but not important things, and they crowd out the things that are most important. One of the challenges of building good habits is that you have to eliminate distractions. You have to eliminate the clutter that pulls your energy away from the essential tasks. And so Warren Buffett's 5-25 rule, I think, provides a good strategy. And one of the reasons why it's important to apply that is that the greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. We get bored with habits because they stop delighting us. The outcome becomes expected. The effort becomes routine. We start to say, oh, I've been running 3 days a week for the last couple of months, but now I'm not really improving anymore. Or I've been, writing every day for the last 6 weeks, but now it's just kind of feeling like a grind. And because we don't feel entertained, we stop doing it. And the greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. And so one of the key insights that I came across in writing Atomic Habits is that the best athletes and top performers in all fields feel the same lack of motivation that you do. They get bored with doing their habits too, but the difference is that they find a way to show up and do the work anyway. And so if you want to master your habits, the key is to start small, focus on systems, not goals, and fall in love with boredom. When you start to fall in love with boredom, you realize, I don't need to be motivated. I don't need to feel inspired. I just need to show up and do the thing. And that is what builds consistency. And consistency is what builds long-term change. The highest point of resistance to any task is always the beginning. Just getting started often feels like climbing a mountain. That's why James Clear emphasizes, make it so easy you can't say no. Don't focus on running 5 miles. Focus on tying your shoes. Don't aim for writing a whole chapter. Just open the document. The smaller the start, the greater the momentum. One of the most powerful tools for overcoming this initial friction is pre-commitment, a technique rooted deeply in behavioral science. Pre-commitment is when you lock yourself into a choice ahead of time. It's like telling your future self, you already decided. Now just follow through. Let's say you want to stop eating junk food. Don't wait for the craving to test your willpower. Pre-commit by removing it from your house. Want to read more books? Put one on your pillow every morning so you see it before bed. You're not relying on discipline in the moment. You're designing your environment to make success easier. James Clear calls this instant willpower. You use a moment of strength and clarity to set yourself up for future success. When you're motivated, that's the time to eliminate choices, reduce temptation, and make the desired action frictionless. Another brilliant tactic? Temptation bundling. You pair a task you want to do, like watching your favorite show, with a task you should do, like working out. You're not just rewarding yourself after, it's simultaneous. This merges instant gratification with long-term progress. Here's an example. Let's say you want to exercise more but love Netflix. Only allow yourself to watch Netflix while walking on a treadmill or doing stretches. Your brain now associates the pleasurable activity with the productive one. It craves both. But it's not all tricks and hacks. Real, lasting habit change requires identity alignment. At the core of every consistent habit is a belief. This is who I am. You're no longer just someone trying to eat healthy. You are a healthy person. You're not forcing yourself to write. You are a writer. When your habits match your identity, they become automatic. This is where atomic habits differ from traditional goal setting. Goals focus on outcomes. Run a marathon, lose 20 pounds, write a book. Habits focus on identity. Become a runner, live healthily, be a writer. Outcomes follow who you believe you are. So the real question becomes, who are you becoming? Every habit is a vote for the type of person you want to be. Skipping the gym isn't just missing a workout. It's reinforcing the identity of someone who gives up. Showing up, even briefly, is a vote for your future self. This mindset helps you stay consistent without perfection. You don't need to win every vote, just the majority. Missing once doesn't ruin you. Giving up does. So show up, even if it's small, especially when it's hard. Let's end this part with a challenge. What identity are you trying to build? What habit would reinforce that identity today? Make it so small you can't say no. And once you begin, let momentum carry you. Most of the choices that you can focus. Just focus on the very best uses of your time. And if you're thinking, how do I decide what to focus on after this presentation? I would say this. Focus on your keystone habit. A keystone habit is a routine or ritual that ripples into the rest of your life. It creates a chain reaction. It might be waking up early, or making your bed, or doing a 5-minute meditation. It's small, but it sets the tone. It's not about the task. It's about who you become when you do it. James Clear often says, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are shaped by your daily habits. So the big idea here is simple. Don't wait for motivation. Don't chase inspiration. Design a system where the good behaviors are the default. Make them so easy, so obvious, so satisfying, that your brain starts to want them on autopilot. You don't need a complete overhaul. You don't need to become someone new overnight. You just need to win today, then win tomorrow. Let each small win build upon the last. That's the truth behind every great transformation. Not sudden change, but the compounding power of consistency. 1% better every day isn't flashy, but it's exponential. And in a year, you'll look back and realize, you didn't just change your habits. You changed your life.